Hello and welcome to the Joe Ligato Show. I'm your host, Dr. Joe Ligato, and today we're going to be reviewing an article from Edelman, and this is the 2023 Edelman Trust Survey, and it also has some data from 2022 as well. And this is part, I believe it's like 5-ish, but you do not need to have watched the other parts in order to understand this. This is just multiple related questions that were asked to 27-ish, 28-ish countries on various aspects of trust and cooperation within their country. And so it's not in any particular order for these questions. And so you could always go back and watch those other videos some other time. So last time we left off talking about consumers and employees pressure business to stand up for them. Okay, so how often do you purchase things from companies that have similar beliefs to you? So I buy or advocate for brands based on my beliefs and values. Okay, and this is from 14 countries of the 27-ish countries, and 63% do that. I think it makes a lot of sense given other things that I've talked about in prior videos, which is that if people don't like you, if they want you dead based off of your race, religion, gender, sexual orientation, things like that, I mean, it's really hard to want to buy products from them. I mean, when you don't have similar moral fundamental beliefs. Next up, we have having societal impact as a strong expectation or deal breaker when considering a job. And this is from 7 countries. 69% want business that reflects their values, has a greater purpose, meaningful work that shapes society, opportunities to address societal problems or social problems, stop specific business practices if employees object, and CEO addresses controversial issues I care about. Okay, so this is an average of those 6 questions. It's interesting because I don't particularly see some of them to be overtly related to others. I would like to see the internal validity of these questions. No, not internal validity, the reliability of these questions. I would like to see that how related are these questions to each other. So business reflects my values, has a greater purpose. See, I would say those aren't overly related as well. You can have a greater purpose and the company have nothing in common with your values. So again, why is this a part of one scale? Meaningful work that shapes society. Okay, that is similar to has a greater purpose. Sorry, I taught psychometrics classes, so I kind of have to go into detail about this. I've taught research methods classes, things like that. So has a greater purpose, meaningful work that shapes society. Those are probably very related questions. I mean, how else would you construe having a greater purpose aside from meaningful work that shapes society? So those are pretty much synonyms. They're just kind of phrased differently. Opportunities to address social problems. I think that might have a slightly different orientation from the prior 2, but it's related enough that that's definitely part of the same scale. Stop specific business practices if employees object. Okay, so I would consider that very similar to the first one. Business reflects my values, but not the next 3. And then CEO addresses controversial issues I care about. Okay, so I would actually say these are 2 separate scales. So if you're talking about the average score between these, I would not say that they're overly related questions. I would say these are probably 2 separate scales. So interesting. I would like to see the internal consistency, the reliability of these items. How similar do people rate them? Because I do think that they're not going to converge, not going to have convergent validity between those various items. Want more societal engagement from business, not less. On addressing each societal issue, business is not doing enough, overstepping. Oh, okay, so this is interesting. So if you want businesses to do more, then you'd probably want them to, you'd probably say that they're not doing enough in most cases. If you don't want them to do more, if they're just like, I mean, particularly I would say if you have conservative beliefs, you probably don't want them to do more because you probably think they're overstepping, because typically nowadays businesses are very liberal oriented. So let's just see. Climate change, people say they're not doing enough mostly. Economic inequality, not doing enough. Energy shortages, healthcare access, not enough. Trustworthy information, not enough. Workforce reskilling. Since these are also similar, I don't see overly much usage of like going over this information. It would have been really nice just for Edelman's Trust Survey of 2024 if they had some questions that might be more contentious, because, I mean, yeah, obviously you want your country to deal with economic inequality and energy shortages and healthcare access. So, like, you need to figure out what are some questions where the businesses might be overstepping. Like, what about like lobbying? Like, are they overstepping in terms of how much they're trying to persuade government? That might be a question where you get the majority of people saying, yeah, businesses are overstepping. But having all of these questions that are very clear, like, yeah, you want businesses to be doing more, it makes it not a particularly interesting narrative to kind of go over that information. So I'm skipping it. Societal engagement puts business at risk of being politicized. I think business can avoid being political when it addresses contentious societal issues. Okay, at risk of becoming severely polarized, already severely polarized. I'm trying to understand what they're saying here. I think business can avoid being political when it addresses contentious societal issues. Oh, okay. So, all right. So these at risk of being polarized or already polarized, that tells us different information from the question itself. That was a little bit confusing there. Okay, so Japan, I think business can avoid being political when it addresses contentious societal issues. All right, so Japan thinks that you have to be political to address contentious societal issues. I think I would agree, honestly. Because contentious societal issues are, I would say, necessarily political in nature, because the reason they're contentious is because people are politically disagreeing over them. So yeah, I would agree more with the left side of the spectrum. Let's look at the countries on the right side, though. Okay, so only like 9-ish countries say that they can avoid being political when addressing contentious societal issues. That's weird to me. Why would those 9 countries say that? Yeah, this is another one of those graphs that I don't know what it's supposed to represent here. Okay, one interesting thing that I am saying is that we don't have data on how polarized the countries are that say that they can avoid being political when addressing contentious issues, aside from with South Africa there. South Africa is severely polarized. So let's just see here about these other countries. If I had to guess, I would say Nigeria is probably severely polarized between Christians and Muslims. Singapore, probably not. While they do have a lot of ethnic diversity and religious diversity within their country, they're pretty authoritarian, and they make sure to keep order in their country. So I think they've figured out a way to make things not contentious in general. And so I don't know how they would even rate whether things are contentious societal issues at all. China, Malaysia, Indonesia, India, Kenya, Thailand. Yeah, I'm not sure what type of picture this is really painting here. Where's the United States? Okay, United States, about half think that businesses can't avoid being political when it addresses contentious societal issues. Yeah, not really much to say here either. I feel like this is an oddly worded question just because of the fact that I think that you have to be political when you're addressing contentious societal issues. I mean, unless you're saying you shouldn't take a side when you're addressing contentious societal issues, but then that would defeat the purpose, because the people who are saying that they want the companies to address societal issues are the people who want the companies to take a political stance. So yeah, this question is one of those questions that I think are... Oh, I guess the gray might actually be not at risk of becoming severely polarized, although I don't know if that's true. Yeah, this is just a weird question. They don't explain in the key what the gray means exactly. And so you can't really understand what to glean from that. So whoever made this question should be fired, because it's just not a good question. Navigating a polarized world. CEOs most expected to act on employees, climate, and discrimination. I expect CEOs to take a public stand on this issue. Treatment of employees. Obviously, I mean, that's an excellent question to ask, I think, because it's something that you should see significant numbers in. And this is kind of like one of those questions that if you don't see like the vast majority saying that CEOs should talk about treatment of their own employees, then there's something wrong with your survey. There's something wrong with the sample from your survey. Climate change, I'm actually surprised that so many say for climate change. Discrimination in the workplace, yes, there should be a public stand on that. I think because more and more companies are taking the stand that you should be able to discriminate against people if they are from previously advantaged groups, however you want to define that. And so I think that's concerning. And I quite frankly do not want to work for companies that say, well, white people in the past have been bad, so you can't have a job because you're a white person now. That doesn't make much sense to me, I don't think. And I want to know if those companies are acting like that. And quite frankly, there are a lot of countries in modern America who take that stand nowadays. The wealth gap, I don't think CEOs should take a stance on that, but that's just, I guess, my personal opinion. And CEOs should not take a stance on immigration, so it's surprising to me that the majority think that they should. I mean, the only part of immigration that's really relevant to companies is when the companies want to have labor for their own jobs. So if it's related to the workplace, then yeah, I can certainly see why CEOs should take a stand on immigration. But in other aspects of immigration, which is the vast majority of aspects of immigration, CEOs should not really have much of a say on immigration policy. But this entire question, which is really interesting here, is that it's almost like people want to ask their oligarchs, their rulers, like, what do they think on this issue? Like, how should we think about this issue? It's kind of concerning to me because I quite frankly, in a lot of these instances, don't think that CEOs should have any say on this. They're not any different from the average citizen in terms of the voting rights that they should have. And so why should they be kind of dictating? Why should they take any sort of public stance on things like, say, immigration, unless it's specifically related to their company? Best societal outcomes when government and business work together. Approach most likely to result in constructive action. Okay, government and business working in partnership. Government and business working in partnership. I mean, typically we would say that's like the core tenet of fascism, and so it's really surprising to me that people would say that they should work in partnership like this. I mean, maybe they had a different representation of partnership here when they're talking about government and business working in partnership. But aside from fascism, there are some forms of communism that would consider government and business working in partnership to be a good thing. Chinese communism would say that government and business should work together. They should, with government in charge, obviously, but they should work together. And you see that quite frequently. And frankly, the reason America has been so competitive is because government has been working to make things easier for American mega corporations. And so it makes complete sense that these two types of organizations work cooperatively. It's just a question of who's in charge. In the Western world, in America, it is big business that is the dominant partner with government. And in China, it is government that is the dominant partner with big business. But I wish they had asked this question differently. Like, you could ask, what do you think of government and big business working in partnership? But you could also then ask, who should be the dominant partner in that? Who should be in charge? Because all else they ask is, should these two types of organizations work independently? Should government work alone to address societal outcomes, or should business work alone to address societal outcomes? They don't really talk about, well, if you have some type of dominance hierarchy, who should be in charge? They don't talk about that at all. And so that's a failing of this question. So trustworthy information insulates business action from politicization. Among the 48% who say it is possible for a business to address societal issues without being seen as politicized, percent who say to avoid being seen as politically motivated when taking a stand, be trustworthy. Okay, let me reread this. Okay, so this is a subsection of the overall people taking the survey. So among the 48% who say it is possible for a business to address societal issues without being seen as politicized, percent who say to avoid being seen as politically motivated when taking a stand, be a trustworthy information source, base actions on science, don't align with only one political party, act on same values over time, and link actions to staying competitive. Okay, so link actions to staying competitive. So that aligns with what I believe as well, which is that organizations should only take a stand on things whenever it has something to do with their organization, with their business. Act on same values over time. I mean, obviously that's a matter of consistency. Of course, that's a good thing. Don't align with only one political party. So that's, if you're thinking completely idealistically, I can see why that would be the case. But I mean, if there are political issues, if there are contentious societal issues that align with political parties, then it does make sense to align with a political party. So I don't see how that would be possible. Base actions on science. I would love that to be the case, but I do not think that the vast majority of people, even the vast majority of scientists, are capable of scientific inquiry. We saw during the pandemic that the vast majority of people just got essentially everything wrong. It's hard to actually be as wrong as most people were during the pandemic, because it's not a matter of doing something is right and something is wrong. Literally, the vast majority of people did the wrong thing in nearly every case. So, and they supposedly base their options, their ideas, off of science. They base their actions on science. And so I don't know. We would love for people to base their actions on science, but they have to have the understanding of science can be wrong sometimes, and you have to have the critical thinking skills to understand when science is correct and when it's wrong. And you also have to understand that science isn't one monolithic thing. It's not homogeneous. Science is a field of study where different pieces of evidence might disagree, and you have to weigh the evidence to figure out what is the correct answer or not. And so, yeah. Be trustworthy information source. Obviously, you'd want that. Okay, so I think I'm gonna wrap it up there. We are at the over 15-ish minute mark. And so thank you for sticking with me. We'll be back again to continue going over this Edelman Trust Survey. Please provide us a like, a thumbs up for this video. It helps us in the algorithm. Please subscribe to our channel for more content, and please leave a comment in the comment box. Thank you, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye.